Hey, what's up, everybody? We're getting started on the sustainability report, and this is episode 3. And I have the great pleasure of having Yazan Malkosh with me, and he's the founder of Swatchbook. And if you don't know what a swatch is, this is going to be a good episode for you guys that, from sneakerhead to boss, that are trying to transition into the sneaker industry, or people who are already in the industry and you want to know why it's important for us to not have to depend on these big booklet of swatches. First, a swatch is a piece of material, right? And we get that material and we look at it and we make a decision to create a t-shirt, or we make a decision to make a couch, or we make a decision to make a shoe. In my instance, I used to make my own shoes. So let me show you what the problem is when you have to take all of these swatches and they have to be sent from China to you. So I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to grab swatches, and I'm showing these to you guys and I'm letting them fall, because this is what happens when the manufacturer in China has to send you all of these swatches. Now, that's not the worst part. And you're wondering why I'm saying this is about sustainability. When you design a shoe, the old school way is you would sketch the shoe, you do your layers, and then you have to scan it and send it to the manufacturer. And then the manufacturer will get it. And then they have to create the sample. So here you have a shoe. Now the manufacturer only makes me one shoe. I can't sell this one shoe. I can't do it. This thing has been sitting in my storage basically for years, and it's just waste. But the material wasn't right, so we have to send another swatch. I couldn't look at them because they sent them in a picture and the quality was bad, so we had to get another sample made. So we got 2 samples that we can't do anything with, and then we had to get another sample made, and then we had to get another sample made, and then we had to get another sample made, and then we had to get another sample made. You get what I'm saying? And then we had to get another sample made. And then we had to get another sample made. I'm throwing it.
And that's just you.
That's just me. Now think about it. I'm small. Think about how many samples are being made by Nike and Adidas and Merrell and Clay and all of these different shoe companies that have these designers, and they have countless designers making shoe after shoe after shoe. There's got to be a simpler way. And Yazan came up with the perfect solution for the swatch problem and sharing. And it works in conjunction with, a few weeks ago, I did Foundry, and they have Moto and they have Colorway inside of a software where you can take a swatch and add it to a shoe in 3D, visualize it, and you don't have to sit here and make sample after sample after sample. So I'm going to get ready to turn it over to Yazan and let him explain to you and show you how Swatchbook works. And it's pretty incredible. Check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a great introduction, by the way. But it's definitely an issue. Can you see the screen?
I can see the screen.
Awesome. So I'll do an introduction about Swatchbook. So what Swatchbook is, it's basically the digital equivalent of navigating those swatches, the millions and millions of swatches. We've built a system that's mobile friendly, that's visual, that allows you to manage your materials and even look at materials coming in from the supply chain by looking at images and renders and videos of somebody manipulating those materials. In today's world, the reason you always ask for somebody to ship a swatch is because we don't have enough visual information that can show you what that looks like. And typically, it's either bad quality or missing. And in this case, we try to provide everything in one place. Still has all the metadata, the costing, how long it's going to take. You could put these not just in a viewing mode in 2D, but you also have them in 3D, as well as augmented reality directly from within the Swatchbook application. And the idea here is, again, to provide a visual, fast, and intuitive way to navigate these materials. And what we've tried to do, at least, is build a platform that allows you to do that as a designer, as a material development person, as a product person, that give you access to a whole public library of materials coming in from real suppliers, as well as even managing and developing your own materials. And that type of digital tools has not been accessible before, has not been available before. And that's kind of what Swatchbook is all about. It's making this transition from analog to digital as smooth as possible while engaging the design community, whether it's people working in sneakers or apparel or home goods. We typically still focus on the soft goods side of things, but the idea here is just to make their lives a lot better. And you can see here that a part of our application allows you to take a simple picture or a texture or a material you see, it might be graffiti as you're walking down New York Street or something that you like and got inspired by. Typically you'd have to go get this manufactured first. In this case, you simply go smart tag it and then see the results again in 3D as well as augmented reality directly on your phone within a matter of seconds. The struggle that you were talking about, you have to wait 5 to 7 days to get just the swatch, and then you have to wait another 2 weeks if you want to make a physical sample of a shoe. That adds up on time. We had a client, a sports performance client, similar to the ones that you mentioned. They go through 1.8 million samples a year of shoes, apparel, and others, and they can't sell them. They have to basically destroy them because they can't sell them. They only, for shoes, it can only be on one side. For apparel, they might not be able to validate whether that apparel will be working or not. It hasn't gone through all the testing that they need to, so they have to destroy it. And to put it in context, if you filled a shipping container with those samples and stacked those shipping containers vertically, it'll be four times the height of World Trade Center in New York.
Oh, wow. And
that's just one company and 1 year. And that's it. Imagine all the other companies. It's not even the biggest company, too.
Yazan, I have to ask, are you finished sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I love to have you come back so we can see you. So if we're talking, we're going to ask these questions.
Yep.
There's some young guy out there who wants to be a designer.
Yep.
How did you work with any companies that do the 3D rendering? Because that stuff looked incredible inside of the app. How you have that sneaker turning in the AR and the colorways being applied to the shoe. If there's a young guy out there who wants to know how you got into this industry, can you give them a little bit of your background? That's what I want to ask first. Can you give them a little bit of your background?
My background is really weird, which might be good because it just means that anybody that really is passionate about this can get in. I studied microbiology, genetics, and architecture. Very odd combination, but it got me into the visualization specifically for architecture and science. And the visualization space is what got me interested into design. And I started collaborating and partnering with companies that are trying to solve digital problems, but for their needs. And I got, full in. I worked with companies like Adidas and Nike and others in footwear, in apparel. I worked with Oakley in eyewear, with automotive, with Mercedes and Tesla, all of them around visualization. But once you find, my background is more tech, but I go to these companies and I try to learn as much as possible about how they make the products traditionally, and then basically map out how they would do this in a digital form. And based on that, every time we've worked with a company, a lot of their core issues revolved around materials, about sample creation. And that just kind of sparked the idea with some of our co-founders about, well, let's try to solve this in a more holistic manner. Instead of us doing the same work at every single company separately, this needs to be a group effort from an industry perspective. Get all the players, all the supply chain suppliers in one place where everybody can collaborate to really solve what we call a global problem.
All right, that's you mentioned the supply chain. I think a lot of people fail to understand what that exactly means. Now, for me, I'm a small company. If I make a basketball shoe, it's me. I go in and I do all of the work, and then it's imported, and then I pay my tariffs and I pay my duties. But how specifically can Swatchbook help people with the supply chain? Because there's nothing I can do with these shoes. They're just sitting here.
Right.
And I can't, it's like I said, it's a big waste.
Right.
But as far as the supply chain, when the company makes the shoe, and then it's shipped, and then it's landed in the US, and then they have to move it and do all of these different things. Before that happens, they have to create the shoe.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that shoe has to go from the designer to a marketing team to a sales lead, and then it has to go up the chain, and then they have to make a decision if they're going to make that shoe.
Right.
Does Swatchbook help that process move a little bit faster?
Absolutely. So typically in that process, as you showed, and I'll say in an average company, you go through a variation of number of samples, right? The first draft to the final product, that zero to hero process, sometimes it's 10 samples, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 5. We try to eliminate as many of the early round samples as possible, because typically at that time, you're looking at the general silhouette, you're looking at colors, you're looking at materials, things that you could typically do in a digital form. There's some things where you can't escape a physical form factor. You need something to touch, you need something to test on performance, something to wear, to actually see if this product meets the criteria that you designed it for. But before that, all the other things that we talked about can be designed in digital form. So instead of getting a physical sample created, what you would create, or what you should be creating, is a virtual sample. So instead of going to the factory, you would go to a visualization artist or a production company and say, hey, I want you to make me this shoe in virtual form. Take that, upload it to Swatchbook. You can look at all the materials, variations on there. The nice thing, and obviously see it in AR and all that. So seeing it in AR now also, because it's accessible on your phone, you don't need goggles and things like that, gives you confidence in that I can put it on the floor. It's the scale that I want. I can look at it, get closer to whatever level of detail that you need it to be. Those kind of tools really help you as a designer go through the iteration much faster. And I would also say sometimes it's not even just about going faster. It means that I can do more iterations in the same time, which ultimately presents a better design, which something I think a lot of people think, if I do it faster, that's it. No, you can also get the same time better design. It just depends on your approach and what you're trying to do. And what we try to say to clients and customers is, if you can go from 100% physical samples to 75 physical samples, you just a quarter of the samples you just removed. That's great. It's a great start. You can do 50%, 80%. I mean, you could almost, I won't say eliminate completely, but certainly until the last 2 physical samples, you would probably be done with all of them.
Now, that's what's really interesting about that is Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, all of these brands are implementing these programs where the person can create their own shoe. Inside of those ecosystems, the systems are not that good. As a matter of fact, Nike by You is pretty good. Under Armour Icon is a little bit rough, and they're very limited in the materials that they have available for you to create and print on these white shoes.
Right. Is
it possible for a company like Under Armour to come in, and this leads me to probably my final question, because I know you have to run and I also have to run too, but a company like Under Armour, they'll come in. Are you going to allow one of the companies to buy you outright and implement Swatchbook into their own kind of integrated system? Or is Swatchbook going to be available for everybody? I don't think you're working with individuals right now, right?
No, our focus is it's been kind of a tiered approach. First of all, we wanted to learn as much as about the large scale challenges, which comes in from enterprise level companies like Under Armour's and Adidas's and Nike's of the world. By us engaging at that level, we can understand a much more detailed supply chain and production environment for everybody. And I think once we learn how that is structured, we've been doing this for a couple of years. We've learned definitely a whole lot. Once we've gotten that information, we take it. We basically look at how the product can solve their problems. After we figure that out, we do have the plan to actually go in and support individuals and smaller teams. But we want to make sure the infrastructure for them is correct, because what they go through is slightly different. A lot of these enterprise level solutions, they vet their supply chain. So we wanted to start with their supply chain, because if we can get that supply chain on board and you're able to get to those materials, that means pretty much for somebody like you who's just developing their shoes, the suppliers that you're engaging with, they've been vetted to some level, as opposed to having to go to China and I don't know if that material supplier is great or not. We wanted to make sure the infrastructure is there before we engage with the smaller level, but it'll have definitely some different sets of challenges there, but we feel that we've solved the majority of the enterprise level ones. And so we're not looking for a buyout at this point from any of these brands. We're just looking to engage with them. We want them to hold their own data. We want the suppliers to have their own data. We just want to build a platform for everybody to kind of engage and come together in a way that's fun, that's intuitive, and obviously, it's going to help that challenge of the physical sample waste and sustainability aspect.
Now, my final question, and then I'll let you run out of here. And I know everybody's probably like, man, this is going really long. It's okay. This is good stuff. I need to hear it, and you guys probably want to hear this. And this final question is pretty important. Inside of Swatchbook right now, the way it's set up, you're almost creating a system where I could potentially collaborate with another designer. Are you planning on creating any type of internal system that basically takes Swatchbook to a point where it almost has a social media quality, where designers can join, and inside of the ecosystem, inside of Swatchbook, they can share in real time different materials, different ideas, where where it's becoming something that's similar, that's really more of a community base. As you move from enterprise to individual level, will inside of that software, will it be the potential to be able to interact with people individually in real time?
Absolutely, and I think that's already started. One of our main functionality is when you, as a designer, even at an enterprise level, you typically work seasonally, right? You work in a season, you put your collections of raw materials, of colors, and we already do this in Swatchbook. So right now, you could put in your raw material collection for the next season, as well as colors, or even graphics, or even 2D and 3D objects, whether it's sketches or 3D models. And you put together what basically is known as a product brief, right? You can put that together. You'd want to share it with your team, because if you just put it and you're the only person that sees it, that's not a lot of value. So what you can do is actually share that, and it becomes a live document of that data, whether it's raw materials or the combinations of other data sets. The idea here was it needs to be an engagement with different parties, and it's not just about the designers. The design community, I think, has also been isolated from the suppliers, because of either it's geographically or just how they work. But you typically design something and then you throw it over the wall, and then somebody from development takes it, and develops it more, throws it off to the supply chain, manufacturing. They make the sample, they throw it back. I mean, this process of back and forth, it's timely, it's costly. We're trying to provide something where it's a live collection. You go in, it's the most updated version of those collections. It's got all the metadata. It's got all the supplier information. You can ask for physical samples if you want. You can engage with the supplier and say, hey, you're missing sustainability information. And as people go through that, there needs to be, which is what we're building, is a single source of truth that starts at the supplier, but then it goes to the designer. And as you share, you're not sharing a file, which can be expired or incorrect. You're sharing a link to a live source to the original truth, which is coming from the supplier. So definitely that's one part of it. The second part is we're still thinking about how do we engage with designers, whether it's graphic designers or product designers. How do we engage with them in a way that's going to build out their brand, right? Because as a designer, you're building up yourself. You want to have your services or your product out. We want to make sure that we build a platform that is able to do that in material development, in graphic development, and engage with the supply chain as well. Because I think I'm sure you know now, but when you first started your journey, I'm thinking probably a lot of challenges for you to connect with the right suppliers, the right manufacturers. How do we get these things going? It's really daunting at some point for somebody who's just starting out.
Yeah, that's actually, you're exactly right about the challenges that I face. So I know for a lot of different people, they're wondering just how they can become a part of the system inside of Swatchbook, if they can join. And we'll get ready to wrap this up. First, I really have to thank you for giving me a little bit of your time on a busy Monday.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Man, it's really for me, because I'm starting to understand the fact that sustainability means more than just Adidas taking plastic and making a parlay running shoe. Sustainability is about the supply chain. And when someone can introduce something that streamlines the entire process of design, it makes us more efficient, and it makes the whole, I keep using the word ecosystem around footwear. It makes it a lot more, viable and less wasteful. And I think that's important. So for everybody out there, we're getting ready to wrap up. Yazan, I'd like to ask you to tell everyone how they can get in contact with you if they have more questions, and where can they find more information on Swatchbook?
All the information is available on our website, swatchbook.us or Swatchbook.us. You can contact us, team@swatchbook.us. If you have any interest or we're always looking for amazing, talented people, which obviously the design community is full of them, to either learn from or get engaged in or prepare for the next version of Swatchbook or things like that. So if you have anybody that's interested, reach out to us. We'll we'll put something together and we'll see how we move forward. This is definitely going to take the entire community for us to really solve the sustainability problem in this industry. It's not a one player, one company type of challenge. It's everybody's responsibility.
That's right. I agree 100%. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Everybody, check out Swatchbook. If you want to reach out to Yazan, take your time and do so. I'm going to wrap this up. That's the sustainability report for, I don't even know what day it is, the 13th.
That's right.
So it's Monday the 13th. Every Monday, we'll do these sustainability reports, and it's extremely important that you guys watch this and not just look at the sneaker videos and the cool stuff on the site. This is really important, man. There's a lot of waste going on, and it's really important that you guys who are sneakerheads become more involved in the business aspect of the sneaker world. That's it. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Yazan.
Thank you so much. Take care.